Hello, everyone. Welcome to another episode of my Secret Atheist podcast. Over the weekend, I did a great interview with Armin Navabi from Atheist Republic. Unfortunately, the internet was so bad that considerable post-production is required on that, so I'm going to probably be releasing pieces of that over the next few weeks. Here's the first piece. You can call this a sub-episode if you like. It's Armin Navabi. So speaking of complicated arguments and also Islam, I found this video online, and it's called Tackling Atheism, Number 1. 3 Propositions for Atheists to Consider, and it's by Sheikh Ashrar Rashid, whose name I probably just mangled. I'm going to play you this audio and let me know what you think of it. Let me know if this is something that you might actually have heard before, the sort of thing that you might have heard before.
Proposition number 1, that we cannot have something coming into existence simply because of the principle of determination. What do we mean by the principle of determination? If there are 2 options, A and B, existence and non-existence, someone would have to have come along and chosen the proposition of existence over non-existence, therefore we exist. So this is proposition number 1.
So can you explain to me what that means?
Oh, okay. Well, this is very ridiculous because he's asking us to accept something before we make an argument, right? Before we must start discussing God, he wants us to accept a few things. But the first thing that he's asking us to accept is that there are 2 choices, existence and, there are 2 states, there are existence and non-existence. And for you to go from non-existence to existence, he didn't even say something. He said someone had to come make the choice and bring us from non-existence to existence. Really, is that we have to assume that before we could go forward? Why do we have to assume that?
Isn't that just begging the question? Isn't that just a huge beg the question?
If we assume that you just proved God. You just assumed God from the very beginning, right? Before we could discuss God, let's assume God. Wait a second. You haven't shown. First of all, you didn't show. You say let's assume that. Let's accept that somebody has to. Why do we have to accept that again? Can you first demonstrate why do we have to accept that it has to be someone, and by someone he's already suggesting that it has to be something intelligent, and even if he didn't say someone, if it said something, it still would be problematic because. Did he demonstrate that non-existence is the natural form of the universe, and we need to, why can't the natural state of the world to be existence? Did he show that there was non-existence at some point, and we went from non-existence to existence? Does he prove that existence was not always the natural state of the universe, right? And also, the fact is that his worldview contradicts what he just said, because based on the Islamic and the Christian worldview, God has always been existing, right? So based on the Islamic worldview, existence has always been there because God always existed. So the natural the natural state of the universe has always been that something exists. Based on his argument, God could, why can't we make the same point about God, right? So there is a God, according to him. So the non-existence of God is one state. The existence of God is another state. Then there needs to be someone, according to him, to make the choice of going from non-existence of God to the existence of God. But apparently his logic does not apply to God. And he doesn't demonstrate why that logic does not apply to God. But the fact that that theists say that atheists cannot explain why how do we go from non-existence to existence is a very strange claim, because in the theistic worldview, God always existed, right? So why, if they claim God always existed, why they find the idea of the universe always existing so ridiculous? What makes God exempt from this idea? Like, why is it so obvious for why God could always exist, and so obvious for why universe has to go from the point of non-existence to the point of existence?
Yeah, what I find interesting is that when he says you have a choice from being non-existent and existent, I mean, what does it even mean for something to not exist? I mean, if something, it doesn't exist, then it's just not there. It's nothing. How can you have something not existing? That doesn't make any sense. Here, I'll play Proposition 1 again, and then we'll move on to Proposition 2.
1, that we cannot have something coming into existence simply because of the principle of determination. What do we mean by the principle of determination? If there are two options, A and B, existence and non-existence, someone would have to have come along and chosen the proposition of existence over non-existence, therefore we exist. So this is proposition number 1. And this would be very logical to any Muslim theologian and Muslim layman. Proposition number 2 for the atheist to consider is the impossibility of continuous regress. What do we mean by continuous regress? That something is caused by something else. So we will say A is caused by B, and then B is caused by C, and then C is caused by D ad infinitum, meaning forever. This Muslim theologians will say is an impossibility.
So what do you think of that?
Well, going back to what he said in number 1, the fact that this is something logical for most Muslim theologians that doesn't say much. I don't know how he considers that a support. That's actually, Muslim theologians believe in a lot of crazy things. So that's actually would suggest that it's more absurd than it actually is. But with regards to the point 2, again, he's making a claim that atheists believe that actually is something that theists believe. He says something cannot go to eternity back forever. That's the claim theists make about God. Theists say God goes back for eternity to the past. He just said that's a logical impossibility. So based on his argument, God is a logical impossibility. And again, even he says that's a logical impossibility. Why? How do you know that? You can't just say that and without demonstrating that and accept that as maybe everything goes back into the past for infinity. Maybe it doesn't, right? When scientists talk about these things, they have some reasoning behind it. Some of them might be wrong, some of them might be right, but they don't just say it and they ask you to assume that something is true. And even if it was true, even if it was a logical impossibility that you can go, the chain of causality doesn't go back to infinitely in the past. What does that even prove? What would that? Let's assume that was the case. Why would the starting point need to be an intelligent creator? Why can't the starting point be a natural phenomenon rather than an intelligent creator? So they're just assuming that we have to accept that everything has a starting point, and then they're going to just pick that starting point, and then they're going to insert God at that starting point. Showing that things have a beginning does nothing to show that there is an intelligent creator. Intelligence itself requires a lot of steps before it to get to intelligence. You can't, it's interesting how theists always want to add intelligence at the beginning of everything, and then they accuse atheists of claiming, how could we say something comes out of nothing, whereas that's not that's the theist position. Theists always add an intelligence at the beginning of everything, and they never feel like they have to ever provide any explanation for why they believe, for where this intelligence came from, and why they believe that this, all of a sudden, this intelligent element it needs to be at the beginning of what they perceive to be the starting point.
Yeah, I gotcha. Here's Proposition 3, just so that we can say that he's had a good, fair play.
And Proposition number 3 is the impossibility of circular reasoning. What do we mean by circular reasoning? If we say A caused B and B caused A, and therefore A caused B and B caused A. Or if we say A caused B and B caused C and C caused B, C caused A, and then A caused B and then B caused C. This would be something rationally impossible. These three things are very important for any atheist willing to debate a Muslim theologian to refute. Either you agree with these three propositions, and if you do agree, then the conversation or the debate can go ahead. And if you decide to disagree with these propositions, then either the propositions are debated in of themselves, or you reach an impasse in the debate where the debate cannot continue. So I would like to see the response of our atheist audience with regard to these three propositions. And after this, I will also propose 15 different fallacies of atheists when discussing with Muslims.
Hey guys, it's Sean here in post-production. You probably don't know that the internet was actually terrible while doing this interview. So what you're listening to is actually both sides of the conversation, both tracks being spliced together. Unfortunately, during the interview, Armin was not able to hear the third proposition very well, and so he misunderstood it actually. So he was really working off an incorrect understanding of the preposition. So because of that, I'm just going to be dropping his reaction to the third preposition, and I'm going to be moving on to his reaction to the three prepositions overall. I don't even know where to go from it, because even the first statement is, as you say, talking about some sort of decision required to start, just whether or not something's existing or not existing.
Okay, but
very spooky.
Here's the thing, though. It's as ridiculous as these seem. They are not. They're actually somewhat clever, and this is why they're clever. Because when atheists listen to these arguments and they say, like, here's an argument to atheists, they assume that, okay, well, they take the speaker at his word. So this is directed to atheists. But the audience of these kind of videos are usually not, the intention is not atheists. Even though it's saying that it's directed at atheists, it's not made for atheists. The main audience is fellow Muslims, right? So you as an atheist might listen to this and you can be like, well, that seems wrong. How could anybody make an argument like that, right? But the thing is that what the intention is for a Muslim to be like, well, there's some smart people here seem to be making some arguments against Islam, that they're using big words and strong arguments, and I don't really get what they're saying. But look, we have our own smart, intelligent guy that is using big words that I'm not sure exactly what he's saying, but I think that he just showed them, well done, like, mashallah or subhanallah or something like that, and they could go around and they could be happy and cheer at the fact, like, they have intelligent scholars on their side, and Islam is much smarter and more intelligent than we atheists could understand. As long as you could have that image, the thing is that us calling the fallacies within this argument is for a lot of Muslims that listen to this is going to be irrelevant. The point is that they have videos of somebody making arguments against us. for a lot of people, what we're saying and what this guy is saying, it just all sounds gibberish. It's just important that they have some videos that they could, when you're arguing with them, they could just throw this video at you and like, there you go. We have some, some of this on our side. So it's meant to, it's basically, this video is, and videos like it, is not meant to convert atheists to Islam. It's just to, get the Muslims on their side excited, get this specific so-called scholar some attention that yes, he's defending us, he's showing the atheists how stupid they are, and if atheists can't see his arguments, it's because they're blind and they just don't want to accept the truth. So, yeah, I do. It's interesting that many of these arguments are not made directly. I mean, I see a lot of Muslims that make videos like this, and when you invite them to debates directly, you get rejected a lot. I mean, I have an open invitation to a lot of Muslims that would be interested in coming and debating me on a Google Hangout or something. And I a lot of times people just send me YouTube links to these kind of Muslims making similar arguments that are as ridiculous. And then when I tell a lot of the Muslims, if they want to hear, okay, you send me this link, do you want to hear why they are wrong? They're not interested. And a lot of times they admit that they never even listened to it. They just have it collected these videos and they have it on file and they cherish the scholars in them, and they just, whenever you point arguments at them, they just throw these videos at you without necessarily understanding what's been said in them. Rarely do I hear themselves make those arguments because they don't even know how to make those arguments themselves. But that's why I think it's important for us to simplify things, because it's, for a lot of bystanders, it just feels like they feel like they're not equipped enough to be in the game. So it's just our intelligent guys versus your intelligent guys, and we're just bystanders cheering them on, right? Because we have no idea what they're saying, and we want to try to tell them, you could come into this debate yourself. We could simplify things. This, we don't have to use big words. We don't have to use philosophical jargons. And that's why, like in the book that I wrote, I tried to use, instead of trying to use complicated explanation, I tried to use like stories and examples and anecdotes and simplify things to show that this is not as complicated as you think it is. It is possible for you to understand why these arguments are wrong.
Thanks for listening to this bonus feature with Armin Navabi. Remember that more of this interview is coming in the next few weeks as I edit and splice the audio. Thanks a lot for listening. See you next time.